The unit was decimated. Lila met Mr. Sterling, the new executive brought in to streamline production. He wasn't a soldier. He was sharp, silver-haired, and rich. He saw Lila's efficiency and ambition, traits she was wasting on a man who might never return. "You have a mind for business, Miss Thompson. You shouldn't be filing paperwork. You should be running this line. I have a man fighting for our country, Mr. Sterling, and you are fighting for your future. The war will end. When it does, which life do you want to step into? The colonial house or the corner office?" The choice was a slow poison. Soon, Lila was managing departments, going to dinners, accepting gifts, jewelry that eclipsed the cheap ring Jack had sent her from London. Her letters to Jack grew shorter, filled less with love and more with factory updates. On his 25th mission, Jack's B-17 took a direct hit. He bailed out over France, spent 6 agonizing weeks with the resistance, and was finally repatriated, wounded, scarred, but alive. He arrived back in Pittsburgh without warning, cane in hand, ready for his yellow door colonial. He found Lila not in their apartment, but in Sterling's penthouse, celebrating her promotion. "Lila, you look different." "Jack, you weren't supposed to survive that mission. I received your casualty report. The reports were wrong, but you didn't wait to check, did you?" "I waited long enough. For years is a long time to put a life on hold for a man who sends me ration book updates. I chose my future, Jack. The war made me a success." Re-surrounded by Soviet forces, starving, freezing. Their corporal, a rabid Nazi fanatic named Gruber, was wounded, slowing them down. Rudy argued they had to carry him. Franz, pragmatic and terrified, argued they had to move. "He's dead weight, Rudy. We leave him, or we all die. He's a comrade." "We don't leave comrades. He's a pig who shot the last medic who tried to retreat." "He's not a comrade. He's a liability." They dragged Gruber for 3 days through the snow, the watch ticking loudly in Rudy's pocket, a reminder of their shared past, a future they were dragging farther away with every painful step. On the 3rd night, they found a small, abandoned bunker. Food, wine, a chance to survive. But Gruber was delirious. He was shouting commands, threatening to shoot them for cowardice. "He won't shut up. They'll hear him. The Russians are right outside, Rudy. We can tie him up. Just until morning." Too late. Franz didn't shoot Gruber. He grabbed Rudy's rifle and slammed the bolt home, aiming it at Rudy. "Give me the watch, Rudy." "What?" "Franz, what are you doing? They only take one prisoner. I saw them. I need to be seen as the one who silenced the Nazi officer. Give me the watch. I'll tell them you left the corporal, and I saved him." Franz didn't want Rudy dead. He wanted his narrative to survive. He wanted the watch, the last link to their past, and he wanted to be the hero who made it out alive. Rudy threw the watch on the ground. Franz made it out. He was captured, spent a few years in a Siberian camp, and returned to a ruined Berlin. He became an engineer, just like he dreamed. Rudy was left in the bunker, rescued by a Soviet patrol, but his mind was broken. He never forgot the look in Franz's eyes. Betrayal by a friend is a slow-motion explosion. It doesn't kill you fast. It makes you question every kindness, every shared secret. Franz survived the war, but he killed the best part of himself. Rudy survived the bunker, but he lost his capacity to trust. This is the story of Anya, a young Soviet nurse on the Kalinin front in 1943. She didn't fight with a rifle. She fought with sutures and penicillin. She was an idealist who believed absolutely in the motherland and the brotherhood of the Red Army. Her love was for her comrades. "If I can save just one more man, if I can patch one more wound, then the victory is closer. We are all one heart here," she would tell herself. She served under Colonel Volkov, a man who saw the war not as a battle for ideology, but as a path to power. He saw soldiers as expendable statistics. Volkov ordered a reckless, unsupported push on a German stronghold. Anya's field hospital was positioned perilously close to the front line, against her protests. The offensive failed spectacularly. Dozens of casualties poured into the hospital, overwhelming them. "We need more blood, more bandages. Colonel, we have nowhere to send the wounded. The road is blocked." Anya shouted, exhausted. "Silence, nurse," Volkov said calmly, ruthlessly. "The failure must be covered. We cannot report losses this high. It suggests my command was faulty." Volkov's betrayal wasn't simple theft, it was a systemic lie. To cover the true extent of the losses, he ordered the immediate evacuation of all walking wounded and the immediate burning of the field hospital, labeling it a direct enemy artillery strike. "You can't. We still have severely wounded men inside. Men who can't move." Anya cried, horrified. A sacrifice is necessary for the greater good, Comrade Nurse, Volkov insisted. You will report that everyone inside perished in the enemy bombardment. You survived because you were collecting supplies. Do you understand? Anya understood. Volkov was sacrificing the men who couldn't talk, men she had just spent 3 days saving to save his career. The men he was burning alive were her comrades, her friends, her entire world. Anya was given the choice: become Volkov's accomplice and survivor, or become a dead statistic with the men inside. She ran, tears streaming down her face as the flames rose behind her. She joined another unit, but carried Volkov's lie and the memory of the men she couldn't save. I lived. I fought. But every time I saw a wounded man, I saw the ghost of the hospital burning. The leadership I loved, the cause I bled for, had been corrupted into a machine that sacrificed the loyal to protect the culpable. Anya survived the war and became a respected surgeon, famed for her cool demeanor. But she never loved the system again. She understood that sometimes the greatest betrayers wear the same uniform as you, and their ambition is deadlier than any bullet. Betrayal by management drains the meaning from sacrifice. It taught Anya that the heart of war isn't always courage. Sometimes it's bureaucratic cowardice, and the cost is always paid by the innocent. Our final story is set in occupied Paris, 1943. Clara Dubois was 20, a courier for the resistance cell, L'Ombre. She loved France fiercely, and she despised the German occupation. Her love for her parents was tested daily. Her mother and father, middle-class shopkeepers, were quiet Vichy sympathizers. They believed collaboration was the easiest path to peace and survival. Don't you see the shame, Papa? They walk our streets, they take our goods, they arrest our neighbors. Clara pleaded with them. We survive, Clara, her mother would reply, weary. That is all that matters. You must stop speaking to those radicals. They will get us all killed. Clara kept her courier work a secret, slipping vital intelligence to London right under their complacent noses. Her line of love, her filial loyalty, was in direct conflict with her love for her country. One evening, Clara brought home an Allied pilot, disguised as a family friend, planning to hide him overnight before moving him south. This is Jean, a friend from Lyon. He's traveling. He needs a place to sleep. Lyon? He has an American accent, Clara, her mother said suspiciously. My mother was American, madam. I learned the accent from her, the pilot quickly replied in French. Her parents were nervous, but they allowed the pilot to stay. They feared the Germans, but their greater fear was drawing attention. They made their choice the next morning. At dawn, the sharp, heavy knock of German boots on their front door shattered the morning air. They know he's here, her father whispered, terrified. How? I was so careful, Clara whispered back, panicked. Her father avoided her eyes. We had to choose, Clara. You were going to doom us. We telephoned the commandant's office an hour ago. We had to, for our own safety. Clara stared at her father. He had betrayed France, her friends, and her by handing over a helpless man, all for the preservation of their miserable, quiet existence. Her own mother looked away, unable to meet her gaze. The pilot was arrested. Clara, surprisingly, was not. The Germans saw her as a foolish, easily manipulated youth, and chose to leave her free, knowing her parents had neutralized her by sacrificing her ideals. Clara moved out that day, leaving a note. She never spoke to them again. The betrayal of a country was one thing. The betrayal of a child's trust was unforgivable. They chose a loaf of bread and a quiet street over their daughter's soul. They didn't save their lives. They merely prolonged their shame. Clara went on to be a key figure in the resistance, her anger a cold, effective weapon. After the war, she was decorated, but she lived alone. Her parents lived out their days in their shop, isolated by the silent condemnation of their neighbors. They survived the war, but they killed their family. Betrayal by a parent is a demolition of reality. It forces you to build your own foundation from scratch, often harder, but ultimately stronger. Clara learned that the deepest loyalty isn't to blood, but to principle. Arthur paused, running a finger over the worn leather of his chair. He gestured to a large, framed photograph on the wall, a group of young men in uniform, all smiling. Those 4 men were the ones I told you about, Eliza. The pilot, Jack. The engineer, Rudy. The nurse, Anya. The courier, Clara. They are symbols. They were all broken in different ways. Rudy and Clara are German and French. How did you know them? Eliza asked. I knew their stories. After the war, My life was dedicated to finding people like them. People who were left behind by the lies. I was the one who helped Jack find his footing again. I was the one who corresponded with Anya. And I was the one who received the watch that Franz sent back after he returned. Anya, the nurse, never forgot Colonel Volkov. Years after the war, working in Moscow, she saw him, now a decorated general, lecturing on heroism. She had the documents. She had the names. She exposed him, not in a newspaper, but through the official channels she once despised. The truth finally burned him. Volkov was quietly disgraced, stripped of his medals. Anya finally felt she had honored the men in the burning hospital. Her line of love, her faith in justice, was painfully reestablished. Jack, the pilot, took the money from the forced sale of his Pittsburgh property and moved west. He didn't build a colonial house. He bought a small, isolated farm in California. He healed his leg and his heart. He married a woman who knew nothing of the war, nothing of Lila's betrayal, only his quiet strength. He learned that the only future worth building is the one you build yourself, brick by painful brick. Franz, the friend who betrayed Rudy for the watch, kept that watch until the day he died. He never wore it. He kept it in a drawer, a perpetual reminder of his crime. In his last will, he left everything to a foundation dedicated to war survivors, and he included a sealed letter of confession to Rudy, who was living quietly in an institution. Rudy, unable to fully process the complex emotion, simply held the watch and cried. He never forgave Franz, but he finally understood the weakness that drove him. Clara, the courier, never reconciled with her parents, but she found her family in the resistance community. She dedicated her life to ensuring the stories of the martyrs were told, establishing monuments across France. She married another former courier. Their marriage was founded not on fragile romance, but on shared trauma and unbreakable principles. They lived by the lesson her parents had failed: survival at the cost of honor is death. These are devastating stories, Mr. Thorne. But why do you call them lines of love? They all end in terrible loss, Eliza said. Because love, Eliza, is what makes the betrayal hurt. If Jack hadn't loved Lila, he wouldn't have cared about the lie. If Rudy hadn't loved Franz like a brother, he would have expected the treachery. If Anya hadn't loved the ideal of the motherland, Volkov's act would have been mere violence, not spiritual destruction. The betrayal is the wound, but the line of love is the scar tissue that holds you together afterward. It reminds you what you fought for, and what you will never compromise again. And you, Mr. Thorne? What was your betrayal? My betrayal was small. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. But that's a story for another time. The bell is ringing, Eliza. You have your 4 lines. Now go write the truth. Eliza stood up, gathering her notes. She looked at the old man, the watchmaker who had seen 4 hearts shatter and had spent a lifetime helping them tick again. She walked toward the door, carrying the weight of the war in her hands. If you want to achieve something, you must decide who you are loyal to: your principle, your truth, or your comfort. Betrayal is always the choice of comfort over truth.